What up, y'all? What's going on? Gonna run this. Oh, let me turn this down. Gonna run this for a little while. Let people jump in. You know, ain't got the intro yet, but that's coming soon. For everyone who's not familiar with me, my name is Marcus. This is Eloquently Petty. What's going on, Shock? What's going on, Shock? For those not familiar with the kid, this is my name is Marcus, and this is Eloquently Petty. As you come in, please hit the like button, get the channel popping. As you come in, leave a comment so I can see you. Okay. I see Dre in here. I see Shaka in here. What's going on? Gather round, gather round. Gather round, gather round. Okay. As you walk in the door, please hit me with that like. Outspoken introvert. What's going on, brother? Glad to see so many familiar names over here. Man of Anger. What's going on? Seeing as this is the new channel, new format, we might see some names we never seen before. Welcome. If all those already familiar with me, what's good? All right. I'm not on StreamYard, so bear with me. Yo, today we talk about Nolan Wells. Now, I'm gonna keep it real with you. I don't know as much as I should know about this case, right? But we're gonna be looking at some stuff. We definitely gonna be looking at some stuff. And I already got like commentary on how people are dealing with this. I done see some of the talking heads. Some of the some of you guys, I done shared you some things off of Facebook already about how certain people are reacting to certain things. Um, I ain't gonna be doing too many conversations like this on this channel, man. I want to get to the music, I want to get to the celeb stuff, but I had to speak on this, right? And I see you, Shaga. Ecamm Live. Yeah, I'm a look into that. Right. But we talk about Nolan Wells. So for those of you that been living under a rock, right? For those of you that have been living under a rock, Nolan Wells is the kid that, went out on a boat with some other kids. He's like a ball player. He's like a star athlete. And all we know is that they all went out. Everybody else came back except him. Everybody else came back except him. Right? Now, let's talk about what we know. That's one of the things we know. What we don't know is why, right? We have some indication as to what happened, some indication, right? We don't know the why yet, right? I got 5 people in here, 4 likes. Let me get that one more like. I'm like greedy. I got 6 people in here, got 4 likes. Let me get them 2 likes. I'm like greedy. You're going to get sick of me asking for likes. As you walk in the door, hit me with that like. I appreciate you. Jay Shabazz, what's going on, bro? So, this is the thing, right? We don't know why. We got people who are saying, why y'all making this about race? It's kind of difficult not to do that. Just because of the racial makeup of the group. I think it's quite natural to do that. I think it's quite natural also to assume there's a group of black kids that went out into the water and all the black kids came back and they had the one white boy with them and all the black kids came back and the white boy didn't come back. I think it's safe to assume that people will be asking these same questions. If a group of black kids and one white boy went out to the water and the white boy disappeared, didn't come back, we would all be asking these questions. I think it's safe to assume that. I think it's worth investigating. I think it's worth asking, right? Especially with the other things that we've been seeing lately, right? So does it have to be about that? Maybe not, but we still have to ask, right? And Shaka says came back, shut down social media, and got a lawyer. But hey, I ain't do nothing. Yeah, that might be true, but I'm gonna say this: lawyering up don't necessarily point to guilt. It might be about that, but I mean, it's smart to get a lawyer. Now, if you get a lawyer before anybody asks you something, then okay. Now I don't know what order these things happened in. We gonna watch some video. We gonna be reacting to things. I just know that another development, right, that's happened is they did a independent autopsy of this kid's body, right? Right. This kid, yeah, got his keys in his cell phone. This kid disappeared. Somehow these guys ended up with his phone. Also, I'm hearing that some text messages got deleted. This don't smell right. We are look, regardless of whether it was about race or not, it don't matter. It don't matter if it was racial or not. It really don't matter. You understand what I'm saying? And another thing I want to say is, you know, with black people in America, this narrative of black on black crime is used to make us look the other way about shit. Let me say this. Let me say this. When it comes to black on black crime, because this black on black crime is some made up shit. It's made up. It's not real. For all human beings on planet Earth, crime is proximal. If you look at the crime rate intraracially of white people, it's not far off from black people, and there's more of them than us. There's not a huge disparity of the percentage of intraracial criminal activity amongst white people versus black people in America. Brick City Riri, what's going on? Hey, 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 how you doing? Brick City Riri, shout out to you. I see you. Right? And Dre, anytime somebody say what about Chicago, say what about Alaska? Ain't that many niggas in Alaska. There's a whole lot of crime. Whole lot of crime in Alaska. But to say that you can't worry about what the white man do to black people until you stop all the black crime is the dumbest shit I've ever heard. So that means, first of all, they love to use gangbanger shit, right? Y'all ever notice that when white men kill other white men, they put context to it? When Kirk got shot, they said that political. That ain't white crime, it's political crime. With black people, it don't matter if you step on the dude's shoelace, if you look at him hard too long, if you wearing red and he wearing blue. It don't matter what the reason. It's all black crime. Cause it's what black people do. No, not. Oh, it could be political. Not it's gang related. Cause that's what gang members do. Regular black people ain't running around shooting each other for no reason. Regular black people, regular working class black people are not catching bodies. It's not a black thing to catch bodies. Black crime has more context to it, actually. More context. But when you take gang related, murders and you put them into the grand scheme of normal, everyday citizen issues, then you're trying to make a statement. But with everyone else, you contextualize it. You'll say, well, this is the Aryan nation doing this, and this is about politics, and this is about this is about that. It don't matter if the offenders are quote unquote melanated people from other places, black. They make a big melting pot jambalaya, a very black incident. They call that shit because we just one group of the same people. With them, it's the Ukrainians versus the Russians versus the Americans versus the British versus this racial group or this ethnicity or this religious group. It's always contextual, and they just throw everybody together, and they do that so that even you got your big mouth black mouthpieces on the internet saying that you can't speak on the Nolan Wells situation until you fix your black on black. It's the look the other way tactic. And a lot of niggas get fooled with this. A lot of black people get fooled with this. Under that premise, just off the fact that the stats are almost the same between black and white people, you should be able to, tell any white American, you can't tell me nothing about this person until you solve your white on white crime problem. Until you solve your white on white crime problem, don't talk about black crime or gang related nothing, because you have not only the masses, but you have access to things that you've been denying other people, to where you shouldn't even have to do none of this stuff, because a lot of black crime is poverty driven. When you go into areas where black people live where there is no poverty, you see less of these issues. You see less of these issues. If you ain't blocking a black man from eating, from living, from flipping a light switch and turning a water faucet, he do okay. He be all right. Now, of course, you got a smaller demographic that, I need to be fly, I need to dress this way, and I need to drive this and this and this and this. Okay. But a lot of black crime is poverty driven. Okay? We know that. It's empirical. You can look around and see it. So, what is the excuse of the people who run the show? Your percentage of intraracial issues should be half or less than ours, and it's not. And that's the thing that these and my criticism is not of white media and white talking heads. It's of black media and black talking heads when they regurgitate and repeat some of this stuff. And you sound stupid. You sound stupid. So I got over here a video. Nancy Grace is talking about the Nolan Wells situation. The problem that I have with the Nolan Wells situation is not necessarily him being a black kid in a group of white kids and the racial tone of the incident, or the potential of a racial tone of the incident. It's more about how they're handling this thing because we all know that just like with the Carmelo shit, if it was two black kids ran up on a white boy, that shit would have been handled differently, just like this. If it was a group of black kids, they would invent evidence. They would have dragged all these kids, or they would have been dragged in already in question. And you wouldn't get these black talking heads jumping on the internet to make themselves, you know, look like they fair and balanced by saying, "Oh, you guys just," I was sharing a post where a guy said, "You guys just want to look like victims." Let me explain something to black men and black people in general in America. You are a victim. You're a victim of America. This ain't about, "Oh, I give up. Woe is me." No, no. A lot of us have had things taken from previous generations, things that we would have inherited from previous generations. You would have maybe a different sort of life, different reality. The funny thing is, people are quick to say, "Well, you weren't alive at this time to suffer this." Yeah, and you weren't alive for certain things, but you benefit now that you are, and the people before you were able to do things that the people before us were not. So things have a ripple effect. Let's not play games. If your great grandfather gets to keep his acres and acres of land and my great grandfather does not, do I not have a different reality in the present than you do? We know that the justice system don't work the same. And some people might say it's a class thing, but class in America tends to, you know, be informed by race a lot of the times. So let's not play games, man. Don't let these people con you, shame you, or guilt you out of holding them accountable for the shit they do. And don't let no tap dancing hucklebuck internet personalities purporting themselves to actually be on your side to use that that same tactic against you and use it to grift in another audience so they can eat. So then they too can escape the same poverty, right? I'm gonna pull up. I got this Nancy Grace video. Let's watch a little bit of it. I'm gonna bring it back to the beginning. Hold on. Let me get this sound coming through my headphones. So this is dead teens messages deleted after body washes ashore. Like I said, this case is kind of crazy. This case is kind of crazy, man. You know, just the fact that there's a stench of foul play, man. They would have dragged in some black kids already. They would have been shaking them up, all up in the precinct, all of that shit. They would have had them already. They would have had custody of these kids already. So let me pull this up. All right. Let me full screen that. There's a lot crazy about this case. So if you guys don't hear this, you should hear it because I'm sharing the correct one. Let me know. Let's run through this real quick.
Did after his body washes ashore? Uh-uh. Good evening. I'm Nancy Grace. This is Crime Stories. I want to thank you for being with us.
18-year-old football star Nolan Wells heads to Horn Island with his friends to celebrate the 4th of July. But hours later, after he doesn't return to shore, his friends report him missing, launching a desperate search across the water.
They met that day, and it was kind of one of those things. It did come off that day that he really did like her, but that was the only time they've ever hung out, was at Horn Island on July 4th.
We're thinking, can you all please come?
And is everybody on board in good health otherwise?
Yeah, everybody's on board.
From our friends at GMA, no, everyone was not on board. Nolan was not on board. And who's the mysterious girl he met for the very first time the day he goes missing? His body spotted by the United Cajun Navy, washed ashore. We have obtained that photo. We are choosing tonight not to show it. That last sound from our friends at NBC joining me in all-star panel, but first straight out to Todd Terrell, representing the United Cajun Navy, participating in the water search for Nolan Wells. Todd, thank you for being with us. What did you observe?
So let me pause this so I can get fair use. So basically, they saying that the text messages were deleted after his body washed up. This is going to get crazy. And definitely let me know if you guys can hear me well. Hey, Turkish Tyrone, what's going on, man? Trust, I see you. I see you. But this is going to get crazy. At this point, y'all ain't dragged these kids in yet? I don't know if they've been questioned or whatever, but y'all ain't dragged these kids in yet, man. Let's continue.
You know, Horn Island, that area right there is an area that we have seaplanes that we operate back and forth to the island, taking people back and forth fishing, or oil field workers, you know, back off to rigs and stuff. That morning, the body was observed on the northwest portion of Horn Island, which is not unusual for someone to drown and be washed up in that area. There was a park ranger that was on the island that actually had spotted the body, and we were calling in down to law enforcement officials on the ground what we saw from the air.
Todd Terrell joining us from the United Cajun Navy, called in to participate in the water search for this young star athlete, Nolan Wells. Tonight, mystery swirling around his death. How is it that a group of his friends go out on a boat? They go to a remote Horn Island. There is nobody there. It's uninhabited. There are no phones. There are no bathrooms. It's just a hangout place. How does he end up dead on the shore and everybody else makes it back? I want you to hear one more time what the group is saying about that day.
They met that day, and it was kind of one of those things. It did come off that day that he really did like her, but that was the only time they've ever hung out, was at Horn Island on July 4th.
From our friends at GMA, who is she? Where is she? What, if anything, did she have to do, if there is a she, with Nolan's death? That's from our friends at GMA. Back to you, Todd Terrell. And I'm about to go to Caitlin Becker, a senior national correspondent, New York Post, on the story from the get-go. Todd, you stated to me that it's, quote, not unusual for bodies to wash ashore in that spot. What do you mean by that? Because if it was that common, wouldn't this be designated a dangerous area and there would be warning signs? What do you mean it's not unusual? I find that hard to believe.
Well, many areas along the coast of the whole Gulf Coast area is a dangerous area. You know, I don't believe they could put up signs anywhere. I think it should be known that these are bad areas.
If it's known that that's a bad area, then when they couldn't find them, why not just assume that something like this is happening and call search and rescue, something like this? if this is something that happens in this area normally, right? And we ain't even get to the part where, the autopsy and everything like that. But if this is something that's normal, if me and my boys go out to a dangerous spot where it's normal for, people to come up missing and drown, and, why is it that, I don't automatically make a phone call like, hey man, I think something happened to my people. I think something happened to my people, man. Y'all need to send some people out here. Yeah, we came out here, we messed around, it's Crystal Lake or whatever, right? Crystal Lake, there's a guy with a hockey mask running around killing people. He might have got our people. Let's call some people, right? Again, I don't care why. This dude's on lots about, y'all trying to make this racial. I don't care why. What we're not seeing is these kids ain't get dragged in yet. Now, all this energy that cats put into Carmelo, like he's guilty, he was a punk, and he should have took his ass whipping like a man, right? All that energy y'all have for that kid. All that energy, right? You got a kid over here dead. None of you know why. And the first thing you do is jump on the internet and talking about, y'all just want to be victims. That's the first thing you come to the internet with. Shout out to Nick. I see you, bro. Like out the gate. I don't know what happened. I wasn't there. This kid might be a victim. You don't even know that yet. It don't matter if it's a racial murder or, if it's a hate crime or not. It don't matter. What matters is there's a inequity in how this is being handled versus if this kid wasn't black. That's what I'm looking at. That's what I'm looking at. I'm not trying to find the hate crime necessarily. I don't yet see evidence of a hate crime. This is not what it's about. But we don't need evidence of a hate crime. We got evidence of a crime. And the first thing some of you Negroes, y'all just want to be victims. That's your go-to? I'm just trying to understand. You don't even know what happened yet. This is what I'm speaking to. Before you sure it ain't that, how about reserve your judgment? Anyway, let's go back into it. Let's go back into it.
The rip current is very bad in that northwestern portion. We call it the washing machine, actually. It's an area where the current just rolls round and round in there, kind of like a washing machine. And one of the interesting things was where Nolan was found was probably pretty close to where the incident occurred. So the body didn't go that far.
Okay, what incident? Was there an incident? Are you suggesting Todd Terrell, joining us tonight from the United Cajun Navy? Our friends, by the way, at the United Cajun Navy. They are called in on many, many missing persons case. Todd, you stated the incident. What incident? You mean he didn't drown?
We're saying that what happened. We're calling it an incident. Our job as United Cajun Navy is to bring people home back to their families. First of all, alive. Second of all, recover the body if possible. We knew in this case, the time frame that was involved, that we were looking for a recovery at this point. But when I said the incident, something happened to make Nolan not be with us anymore. It appears as though it was a drowning. There was a lot of rumors about him being brought back to the land 10 miles away and brought back out there and dumped off. I don't believe any of that is true. Whatever happened in that water, we're calling the incident. The water goes from 2-3 foot to like 20 feet real quick. There were some underage kids out there drinking. It's an island. There's no IDs being checked or anything like that. But we said incident. There's anything that could happen. And not every person that drowns, you hear screaming and hooping and hollering. But at this point, our job was to bring Nolan home. Did that.
What was observed? Guys, you're seeing right now from our friends at the United Cajun Navy, the video taken from their aerial craft. On the beach, you see a grouping of individuals. Now, from another source, we have obtained photos of Nolan's body that we are not showing. It's just not right. But I can tell you, when you see that grouping of people on the beach, they look like little ant figures from this high up above, but that is where Nolan's body is.
Okay. I didn't mean to play that double time. Let me slow this down. It ain't right, y'all. Something ain't right here. Something ain't right.
They're standing around it. As I recalled, Todd Terrell, Nolan was face down, still fully clothed on the beach. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. He was face down, which would have meant that he drowned. Now, when we say he was found fully clothed on the beach, it was in the same vicinity of where he possibly drowned, you know, right there. So it was not uncommon for the body to have washed up right there. That being said, that area full of rip currents really strong right there goes from 2 to 3 foot to 20 feet pretty much within a couple steps. So that being said, whatever happened really, really close to where the body was found.
Yo, let me ask you a question, y'all. And shout out to Lucy. I see you. Yo, how many of y'all would have went to a place like this, where it's regular for bodies to wash up, people to drown and people get missing, and bodies to wash up, and your man is missing, and y'all just dip? Oh, well, I guess. And you got his phone. Look, all foul play aside, right? All foul play aside. Yo, who gonna just leave like, oh, we don't know what happened to her. Well, it's time to go. These are not your people. Let's say there's an all-black crew of dudes. Who's leaving their man out in the middle of the water? Who doing this? I'm just asking. Who leaving their man out there? Let's say there's no foul play. Let's say there's just a murder. I mean, but not a murder. Let's say your man jumped in the water, got bit by a starfish, or his foot got caught on something at the bottom. Just period. Y'all not going to look for y'all people? For real? I don't want to kick it with nobody that ain't coming. Yo, I've been places with a crew of people and we missing somebody and nobody leave till we find them. I'm talking about real life. Shout out to my man Ralph. I've been places where it was a bunch of cats and we look around, we like, yo, where homie at? Nah, we not leaving till we find the homie. They got a series, a franchise series of movies called The Hangover, where the same dude gets lost each time. The same dude gets lost in every movie. And nobody's leaving until we find this dude. They lost him in Vegas. Yo, we can't leave until we find this dude. They lost him in Thailand. Yo, we can't leave till we find this dude. For real? We don't know where he at, but, well, would you look at the time? We out of here. Then he turned up dead. Yeah, let me ask y'all another question, man. Y'all can't find your man. Damn, we can't find him. Y'all not making no phone calls? Yo, we lost this dude. Yo, we don't know where he at. If my man is lost, we in this place where people just turn up missing, drown, whatever. Yo, everything canceled until we find him. And if we don't find him, we calling everybody. We calling National Guards. This is my man. We calling everybody. And when we find him and he turns up dead, he drowned or whatever, you're going to see 80 interviews of niggas crying that our man turned up dead. I'm telling you what would really happen in a situation. Yo, we went out. Yo, we couldn't find him. It's crazy. And yo, it'd be a bunch of niggas falling apart that we found our man dead. Yo, I have his phone. Oh, yo, I can't believe it. Oh, man. Yo, these dudes should be broken. They should be falling apart because a man didn't turn up and he turned up dead. Forget race, forget all that. We went to Crystal Lake. Jason Voorhees is chopping heads off. They got my man. Damn. The comedy in Vegas, they would not leave without their man. Oh, well. We can't find Stymie. That was foul. That was foul. I shouldn't have said that. Like, if the Little Rascals would have looked for buckwheat. They would have looked for buckwheat. Charlie Brown, I don't know if he looking for Franklin. I don't know. But yo, where buckwheat at? Say Spank. Born Builder was good. Say Spank. You seen buckwheat? I don't know, Falfa. The whole episode, Little Rascals would have been fine buckwheat. But they just dip. That's crazy to me. That's crazy. Now let's flip it for a minute. Let's flip it. Bunch of black kids, one white boy. Shout out to my man Greg. I don't know about y'all. I grew up in Brooklyn. I grew up with a guy. I know this dude probably longer than most of my friends. We call him White Boy. It's my man Greg. Shout out to White Boy Greg. That's my guy. You can't tell White Boy Greg that he a white boy. Okay? You can't, and I wish he could see this video. You can't tell White Boy Greg he ain't a white boy. He from the block. My man, White Boy Greg, I know this kid since I'm 4 or 5 years old. And I can say with confidence, me and my crew of niggas from Flatbush Brook, there's no way we would have left without White Boy. Not even because he a white boy. Because he the homie. There's no way. Where White Boy at? We in the area where niggas is drowning, turning up dead, floating up, washed up on the shore. Yo, this could have happened to White Boy Greg. We got to find White Boy Greg. Do you know the rain of hell that would descend upon niggas? We leave white boy Greg out here. It ain't even about, again, that is us. We ain't leaving with, nah, fuck that. We ain't leaving without white boy Greg. Oh shit, Keena, what's good, Keena? But we leave with our white boy Greg. It'll be some Central Park 5 shit. It'll be some Batman interviewing the Joker in the Dark Knight ass shit. That's what that would be. They will make that about what y'all trying to make it about. No, that's what that would be. That's what that would be. It's just reasonable. If this is your man, you look for him. Period. Like, it ain't about nothing else. Let's go back to the video.
You know, Todd Terrell, I don't mean to be giving you a hard time. This is not about you. The United Cajun Navy are the protagonists in this scenario. You're the good guys. I've just got so many questions about how this happened. Was there anyone else on Horn Island when Nolan's body was found?
Now there was the park ranger was out there, and there was some law enforcement officials that actually had their boats anchored out there. You know, they were kind of like waiting around for a call of what to do. What people don't realize is when you're looking for a body on the water, especially in the Gulf where you have waves going and you have white caps, it's a little bit harder to see. When you're in a boat, you can only kind of see the vicinity around you. So when we put these seaplanes up in the air, we can get a much more visual of the much more bigger area. And these seaplanes can go low and slow. So what we do is we stay in contact with the officials on the ground and tell them what we see. And if they see something too, they can relay it up to us and we can go investigate it. So in this case, there were several law enforcement boats that were just kind of hanging out in the area on the island. And there was numerous other boats in the area, you know, circling and looking. But the body was found by a park ranger as it washed up on the beach.
You know, I'm very curious, Todd. Guys, joining us, Todd Terrell with United Cajun Navy. When I said, was anyone else on the island when Nolan's body was found? Your answer was completely 100% accurate, but let me rephrase and refine my question. You're saying the park ranger found him. That leads me to believe there were no friends. There was no newly met girlfriend. So am I left to believe that he goes out swimming all on his own?
Right.
And the friend girl leaves, the mates from school leave, everybody just leaves him out in the water and he dies and then just conveniently washes ashore? Somebody just left him out in the water?
Yeah, Omi decided he was with a crew of people. Hey, look, y'all, I'm going to go swim by myself, y'all. No need for none of y'all to come with me. All right, Nolan, we'll see you later. He goes to swims, they dip, and then he shows up dead. He left his phone, all that. And nobody goes to, like, look for him. Let's continue.
Does that make sense to you, Todd Terrell?
Well, you know, being a person that goes to this island and several other areas that you can only get to by boat. We have some restaurants and bars in Louisiana that you can only get to by boat, which means you have to hitch a ride with somebody on a boat or that has a boat to get there, which a lot of things could go wrong in that scenario. But as far as what we believe, I believe that Nolan went out there with a group of friends. They were friendly, obviously so, because he was even out there. I mean, you got to understand, to go to an island, you have to have a boat, which means you have to have friends, which you have to have people that kind of like you to even bring you out there. So when Nolan got out there, the group of guys he was with, you know, they decided to come in a little bit earlier. They were having some engine trouble on their boat, which is not uncommon, happens a lot. Nolan, for whatever reason, decided to stay on the island, which is not uncommon. He could have, you know, had this girl he was talking to. He could have just, for whatever reason, decided to stay. Not uncommon. That doesn't give us any reason to think foul play or anything was involved there. The issue is when he stayed on the island, he had to hitch a ride back in with somebody. And there's where the issue becomes. Who did he hitch a ride back in exactly? How were these people connected to him? How did they know him? And it's not uncommon for you not to know somebody at all and just say, hey, I need a ride back in. And they say, yeah, come on, get in the boat with us. So if I say, hey, Nancy, come on, get in the boat with us, that means at that point we're responsible for you.
I wonder, can they keep track of who was there, who wasn't there at this place? I mean, is it like one of those places where, is it a national park? Is this some random secluded place where nobody's supposed to be? Like, is there any sort of like anybody over there that can say, okay, it was this many people there, this and that and third, whatever, whatever. Now, all that stuff about he had to be with friends, he had to be with people who liked him and this and that. Apparently, they ain't like him that much. They dipped without him, right? So let me bring this down. I wanna look at a couple more tabs that I done pulled up, right? Concerning this autopsy, right? So 1 second. Give me a second. So let me pull this up here. This is crazy. Okay, so let's go here. So Nolan Wells' family lawyer says private autopsy can't rule out foul play. Right? Can't rule out foul play. All right. That's what the autopsy say. Okay. Let's read some of this. Is there anything to read? I guess there ain't nothing to read. Let me see if I can get some sound on here. It doesn't matter what he says if he's trying to rule out the foul play. Yes, because this and that, this could have happened. That could have
On
happened.
Horns Island, you mean to tell me?
Let me.
A teen's
Let's bring
mysterious
this back.
death getting nationwide attention after attending a July 4th boat trip with friends and never returning home. Now, a Mississippi grand jury will determine if criminal charges will be brought after the family's private autopsy couldn't rule out foul play in Nolan Wells' death.
There were 300 to 400 people out on Horns Island. You mean to tell me nobody saw anything?
Any parent that would be in this situation, you would do anything to find out what happened to your child.
300 to 400 people. The way that they was talking earlier was like the whole island was secluded. Nobody was out there except these kids. Am I bugging, or is that how it sounded to me? With me listening, they made it sound like those kids were the only people on the island. So Crump is saying there's hundreds of people out there and nobody saw nothing. Hundreds. Y'all ever notice that this type of stuff happens a lot in the South? But y'all trying to be victims. This shit happened in Jersey. This shit don't happen in New York. This shit don't happen in Philly. Niggas ain't washing up on the shore in Philly. Mysteriously. Only in the South, Louisiana. In Louisiana, we got niggas washing up on shore. In Texas, we got, two big white boys running up on little niggas. We got kids running from Chinese dudes with guns. And then we wonder why any of these little niggas are carry. He was too young. If they pull Nolan Wells out of the water and he had a blade on him, see, you got a blade, thug. He said, Outspoken says, homie I went to high school with was found dead on Orchard Beach back in 99. Whoa. That's peculiar. I'm just saying. Then we wonder why these dudes is carrying knives and guns and shit. He shouldn't have been carrying. I don't know. Sound like a strong case to carry to me. He tried to kill these niggas. If you haven't hit the thumbs up, please do so now. Thank you. On the way in, hit the thumbs up. I need thumbs. I need thumbs. So, autopsy cannot rule out foul play. Supposed to be dragging kids in now. Okay, let's go to USA Today. Let's go to USA Today. Hold on. So here's why Nolan Wells' death is more than just a mystery. Mind you, these are articles. Hold on, let me go back. These are articles. So I'm going to be fair by saying, these are articles. All right. More than just a mystery. Okay. When Mississippi teenager Nolan Wells disappeared after a July 4th boat trip, question immediately began to swirl about what happened to him and why. Nearly 3 weeks after his body was found, many of those questions remain unanswered. Parallel investigations into the 18-year-old's death have revealed little publicly so far. Wells' family fears his death will be written off as an accidental drowning, citing conflicting witness accounts and unusual cell phone activity. That's all they needed. Meanwhile, dudes is tapped in the line pretty. I just want to be victims. Get out of here, Spider-Man. Nobody asked for you. Let's go back. Conflicting witness accounts and unusual cell phone activity. The mysterious death has attracted speculation from the public nationwide and attention from major true crime figures like Nancy Grace. But the death of a young black man after an outing with a predominantly white group of friends has also dredged up fears among Black Americans that they are safe in such environments. Justice system won't handle their cases properly if something goes wrong. See, that's what this is about. That's what this is about. It's not about whether the actual incident, right, was racial. It's not about that. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it was or wasn't. It's about how it's being handled. That's where the racism may be lying, not in the incident, but in the investigation. Right? So let's continue. Let's continue reading. Okay? If something goes wrong, you out there predominantly white, group of people. Listen, white dudes get off killing white people. Family has launched their own independent investigation. Absolutely, see, they handling this a lot better than the Anthony family, citing that lack of trust in law enforcement in a state with a long history of racist violence. Absolutely, of course, but they just want to be victims. I don't know why they just try. We said Carmelo Anthony's family was an idiot, was stupid for getting public defenders because they believed in the process, right? But these people, they just want to be victims. Officials in Jackson County have said they have not found signs of foul play, but continue to investigate. Unfolding here, one is the mystery of what happened to him, and the other is that it has surfaced in the American consciousness, especially among Black Americans, some familiar anxieties. It is really a story of an unhealed history and lived pattern recognition in Black America. Fisher said Wells traveled with friends to Horn Island, about 10 miles off the coast of Mississippi, Mississippi. Mississippi. Let me tell you something. I go to Mississippi. I ain't going with white people nowhere. Mississippi, let me tell you, if I live my whole life never going to Mississippi, I'll be all right. If I never enter the state of Mississippi as long as I live on planet Earth, I'll be okay. MI, SSI, PPI. "10 miles off the coast to celebrate 4th of July, according to the National Park Service. The island is accessible only via private boat, and there's no staff, no drinking." So that answers some of our questions. No staff, no drinking water, shelter facilities, or communication on the island. Cell phone towers, who knows? Phone might not even matter, but they deleting text messages. So, GPS data obtained by CBS News from the Mississippi Department of Marine Resources show that the boat reportedly arrived at 11:14 a.m. and left at 4:30. Family attorney Ben Crump said Wells's friends reported they last saw him around 3 p.m. 3 p.m. So an hour and a half before they left. That ain't a lot of time. They just dipped. Christine said a friend of his contacted her around 11 that night, setting off a frantic search. Wadsley said the family met with law enforcement around midnight and were eventually able to track down Wells's phone and his car, which were at different locations. Wells's father, Elmore Wadsley, said he left by boat around 5 a.m. to search for his son. The Jackson County Sheriff's Office led a land and water search July 5th and 6th, assisted by the Mississippi Department of Marine Resources, National Park Service employees, the United Cajun Navy, and other volunteers. The search ended on the 6th, after they announced a body was discovered on the northwest end of the island. The body was later identified as Wells. In a recent interview with Grace, Todd Terrell, founder and president of the Cajun Navy, said Wells was found face down, fully clothed. The United Cajun Navy later clarified that Wells was only wearing swim trunks. Independent autopsy conducted by forensic pathologist Dr. Roger Mitchell and paid for by Colin Kaepernick could not determine the cause or manner of Wells's death. It is inconclusive. Okay. Mississippi Department of Public Safety confirmed in a July 22nd statement the state medical examiner completed an initial autopsy on Wells on July 7th and said the investigation is active and ongoing. Then they say earlier in this that I was reading that, they said that they couldn't detect foul play. They couldn't detect foul play. But these people are saying they can't rule it out. That sounds like to me two different things. Okay? So Jackson County Sheriff John Ledbetter said shortly after Wells' body was recovered, his team had found no sign of foul play at that time. But at this point, there are more questions than answers about what happened. And investigators should avoid making assumptions. So you get the independent guy, he say he can't rule it out. These guys were like, hey, there ain't no signs of foul play. I just look at the room, I see how people react to stuff. How friendly are these kids that, they like, yeah, you can come with us, da 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 da. Whether they're guilty, innocent, whether they hostile or not. One thing you can say is these ain't homies' friends. They were not his friends. Like I said, a white boy in my circle, there's no way we would love him. I'm telling you, like, it's no way in hell. It's my man, right? Said, I went that investigation down to one single theory. Crump said there were glaring contradictions in the accounts given by the last people to see Wells alive. The people Wells arrived with said he was talking to a young woman, chose to stay behind, and planned to ride back with someone else. The young woman says that he went back and got back on the boat with the boys. The boys say no. He said he was going to stay with her, and that's a conflict. So who's lying? Okay. Let's stop here for a second. I want to pull up another tab here. They say they found the girl or they identified her. Let me see if this is okay. Let's see here. Let me pull this down. Yeah, somebody lying. Somebody lying. Okay, let's go here. See if we can get some more information. Mystery girl in Nolan's case reportedly identified. All right. We scroll up. See if we can get some more audio on this.
Okay, so the situation with the key. When we got to the house, a few of his friends, they were already there. And they were at the door in the house, asking questions. So when I walked up, they were getting, things getting kind of tense. So I turned to them and told them, I need you guys to calm down. I don't believe this to me right now. I need them to kind of trust me so they can give me something. So I was able to calm them down. So the guy, he's in one of the pictures. When he came out of the room, half sleep or whatever, I think Jack or whatever. And I said, I'm Nolan's father, I'm here to get his keys, so I can get his car. I said, he's like, his car was parked in New York. So he was like, I don't know, man. I don't know if like my brother. I said, well, if Nolan was like your brother, would you please go in the room? He said, we can find his keys so I can take his car home. He walks off, 2 or 3 minutes, come back. I can't find the keys. I said, okay, so at that point, I get the boys and I get to move them out the house because I didn't want them to go into the house and start tearing up these people's houses because they didn't know the situation. So we walk outside by the car. One of the guys that was in the house with us, he was on the phone with a girl, and the girl told him that Nolan's keys were on top of this Jack's guy's Xbox in the house because apparently she was there with him earlier. So he goes back up to the door by himself, and 5 minutes later, the keys come out. So now I feel like you're lied to me. So now I'm really like in distrust with you. But as far as
Can y'all hear this good? Basically, he's saying he came for the keys. Somebody said they ain't had the keys. Some other girl come out and say the keys is right there. Sir, the keys is here. Gives him the keys. So now he's looking at this kid like, you lied to me about the keys. Father goes to get the car key and the kid has the keys. Why would he lie about something like that? Why would you lie about something like that? This your man, right? It's your man. His body wash is sure you got his car keys. Pops come get the car keys. Nah, I ain't got his car keys. Yeah, he do. He right here. Why would you lie about something like this? You got a dead man's car keys. I don't know how much crime shows y'all watch. It's like, oh, you got a dead man's cell phone and a dead man's car keys. That's crazy. That's crazy. A dead man's phone and keys, car keys. And you holding it down. If I got my dead man's car keys, this is my man. Let me call his family. I got his car keys. I got this. I got that. You telling me your pops got to come and ask and look for this stuff? Yo, this is crazy. I don't know where nobody is from, right? But this is now how it go. Yo, Mr. Wells, I got Nolan's car keys, man. I'm over here. Meet me over here. Let me get this stuff to you, man. I think you should have it. You laying low with the keys? Yo. Yo. Yo, do we need Columbo? For real? We need Columbo? We need Matlock? Psych? What's the other dude? The other goofy detective. Inspector Clouseau? Like, who do you need on this, man? It's not that crazy.
As the night goes, if I knew anyone had a boat, I would have went out there looking for my son. We tried, but I don't have physical boats. But if I knew someone would want, I would have went out that night. And it so happened that his coach saw all the stuff on Facebook the next morning and contacted me at like 5 in the morning, asked me, do we want to go out? And I told him, so within an hour, he was at the dock, we met him, and we went out. We docked the boat, got out the boat, walked on the island, walked a pretty stretch, came back, got back on the boat, and around the island, looked, came back around, and where we went to, that's where apparently they say that his body floated up. I don't know a lot about water currents or whatever, but I would think that we would have saw his body. Mm-hmm. And on the trip there was a family that stayed like on the island, like actually tented out on the island. So if he was left, he would have saw that family on the island, and it was 2 other boats docked, so he would have had help. So I don't know. I don't know. I think we stayed there for like an hour and a half. That's when Jackson County and the sheriff department showed up, and they were going to do their rounds. And I had a classmate of mine, him and his 2 brothers, that came out and they searched, and then they got back to me and said the Coast Guard finally showed up and after him. So
what is so critical, what Elmore is saying is they went out on Sunday and the tide, if it brought his body up, he went missing on July 4th. And they say his body should have been there on July 5th. Why did it not appear to July 6th? And that's one of those things that's just not adding up. And the fact that if he stayed behind on the island, there were boats there. There were people. Somebody had to see something. That's why it's not adding up. And that's what they're saying. It is just not adding up.
And if he was there 2 days, somebody on the island would be able to verify that. 2 days, and nobody's come forward and say, no, he was with us, or no, we saw him. It just does not make sense. Make it make sense.
1 second, they're a neighbor you like. The next,
all right.
they're a neighbor you trust.
All right, let me come out of there. So let's scroll down. So they're saying that they identified this chick, but I mean, I'm seeing the let me scroll up. I'm seeing the headline, but I'm not seeing what they put under that. But they saying that she's identified. I don't see a picture, a video, or none of that. But I guess they protected her. If you notice, we don't even know who these kids are. We don't know who they are. They protecting their identities. They blurring all the pictures out and shit like that. Like, we don't even know who they are at this point, right? So let me get one more tab for you. One more tab, man. We gonna investigate this, right? So how Nolan Wells died, here's what experts say can happen next. Let me close this. Okay, so I want you to be able to see it. Says an independent autopsy cannot determine why a Mississippi teenager was found dead in waters off the Mississippi coast after the 4th of July boating trip with friends, but the keenly awaited results of a state autopsy conducted earlier this month could lend some clues. An independent pathologist described Nolan Wells' manner of death as undetermined pending further investigation. A preliminary autopsy report released Wednesday said the 18-year-old's body was found along the shoreline of Horn Island on July 6th, when local officials said it appearing to be an accidental drowning. See, they trying. And no foul play was suspected. Attorney Ben Trump, who's representing the family, said Wells' parents requested an independent autopsy be performed because not adding up. Wells' death has sparked nationwide attention and speculation over whether race played a role, as Mississippi's fraught with racial history. Of course, it's like the fucking colon of slavery down there. You know what I'm saying? The independent autopsy, which was privately funded, is separate from the official autopsy performed by the Mississippi State Medical Examiner's Office on July 7th. Results from the state autopsy investigations have yet to be released, pending the outcome of standard toxicology tests. Well, they already said, oh, no foul play. Outspoken, I don't know if they over 18. I can't call that one. The independent autopsy faced several limitations, wrote forensic pathologist Dr. Roger A. Mitchell and the Jr. in his report. Some of Wells' remains were retained by the state during the initial autopsy, which is a common practice. So they kept some of his remains before they gave it to the independent. Toxicology results weren't yet available, and decomposition can obscure injuries and complicate toxology. Multiple questions about what led to the young man's death remain unanswered, including how Wells entered the water, whether he had any neck injuries or brain bleeding, and what was found in the stomach. From what I understand, he had, some sort of head injury. Said there were no immediate signs of physical injury. Jackson County coroner Bruce Lynn told CNN. The independent autopsy also didn't find any apparent lacerations, fractures, or deep tissue injuries on Wells's body. The coroner's office requested that the autopsy be conducted at the state medical examiner's office because of the condition in which Wells' body was found, and to definitively determine whether there was any trauma or signs of foul play. The Jackson County Sheriff's Department has interviewed dozens of witnesses and is working with the FBI to investigate. Mississippi Sun Herald reported CNN has reached out to the Sheriff's Department for more information. Expert told CNN that the state's autopsy performed days before the independent one could help give investigators better insight into what led to the teen's mysterious death that holiday weekend. Me personally, I don't trust the state. I don't trust the state autopsy. Yeah. The state examiner should have access to information, retained remains, and other evidence the independent examiner lacked that could help clarify and cause the manner of death. Though the process could take months, according to forensic pathologists who did not work on Wells' case. So that's implying that the state examiner could have evidence that they didn't give to the independent examiner if this is any sort of conspiracy, any cover up or anything like that. It's possible that the state examiner may have held on to remains and other evidence that they didn't give to the independent examiner that could explain cause of death. So still the autopsy may not provide a full picture. Here's what forensic pathologists who spoke to CNN say. The state autopsy report, the toxicology results, and the investigation can help determine how did Wells end up in the water. Wells' friends made it back home, but he did not. One of the friends said Wells stayed on the island to talk to a girl. But others have cast doubt on that notion. The girl says he didn't stay. He got back in the boat with you. The biggest question that's on the mind, certainly of everyone in Jackson County, Nolan's family, and the rest of the world, is simply how did this young black man with such a promising life ahead of him die while on a trip with a group of his peers who could not explain why he went missing? One of the central questions in the case is what happened to Wells before he entered the water. For example, did he fall accidentally into the water voluntarily, or could he have been pushed? Mitchell said in his report the most significant limitation in the independent autopsy was the inability to directly observe the airway and lungs for water and directly observe the stomach for gastric contents. When a body is found in the water and there's a suspicion of drowning, it is important to confirm how that person entered the water, the pathologist wrote. The information is especially important for those deaths of persons who can swim, as is the case for Norman Wells. So he can swim. Nolan Wells is a swimmer. Just want to pause right there. This kid can swim. This kid's an athlete. The currents near Horn Island can be notoriously rough. The Jackson County coroner told CNN his office has received numerous drowning victims from Mississippi's barriers. So this place where all these people drown, they have no staff, no this, no that, nobody. Hundreds of people there, but nobody. Like, when a place like that be blocked off, like, yo, people keep coming over here, dying, drowning, underwater. They ain't got no supervision, no nothing. And kids is over there. Kids, right? With no restrooms or communications on Horn Island, some people venture out into the water. But drowning is one of the most challenging diagnoses in forensic pathology because there's no single autopsy finding that proves it. According to pathologist Dr. Carl Wigren, who is not involved with the case, examiners look for hints like wrinkling of the palms or frothy fluid in the airways. The state exam should be able to access lungs, airways, and other thoracic organs, helping answer questions about drowning and time of death, according to Keel. Even if Wells did drown, other questions loom. The pathologist who conducted the autopsy said he could not tell whether Wells was conscious or unconscious, forced or unforced, before entering the water. Y'all know how white boys play. So whether Wells was conscious before entering the water will bear directly on whether the death was an accident or a homicide. But even with more access than the independent examiner had, the state could still face limitations if witness information is incomplete or the body's condition prevents firm conclusions. Man, this would be some Central Park 5 shit if this shit was flipped. They would have been banging these kids' heads against the asking them questions. Y'all gonna give us answers tonight. But this Mississippi. It's Mississippi. Just another dead nigger. There's no single medical finding that can reliably determine whether someone was conscious or unconscious or whether they entered the water voluntarily or involuntarily. The investigation will help determine whether Wells was alive when entering the water and why he entered it and why he could not get out. You know, that's where witness accounts, scene reconstruction, physical and digital evidence, and other investigative findings come into play. An autopsy alone rarely provides every answer. The strongest forensic conclusions come from integrating the medical findings with the investigative evidence. Did he sustain a neck or brain injury? Mitchell did not have access to all of Wells' remains after the state's autopsy, including a portion of the interior of Wells's neck, but he noted it's a common forensic pathology practice to maintain the anterior neck structures during an initial autopsy. Therefore, this pathologist cannot rule out injury to the neck as a contributor or cause of death. Let me read that again. This pathologist cannot rule out injury to the neck as a contributor or cause of death. Can't rule it out. The autopsy reports the state, so can't rule out the injury to the neck. Dr. Pryor Banerjee is an Indian name. Pryor, Indian as fuck. Dr. Pryor Banerjee, a forensic pathologist based in Rhode Island who received the autopsy report and is not involved with the case, said it's not unusual to doctors to retain some remains. That's kind of crazy, though. That's like you trying to do like crime scene investigation and the cop start picking shit up off the crime scene. Like, nah, you ain't gonna need this. Let me take this shell casing. How am I to do an effective autopsy if somebody had the body before me and kept shit? You know, it's not unusual. It's not unusual. Why is that not unusual? That's kind of crazy to me. As if I'm trying to prove cause of death, you take the slugs out of dude and keep them. I'm trying to determine what this motherfucker was hit with. You keeping evidence. Well, you know, Marcus, is not unusual. It should be. Should be unusual. You get the body, you get to keep shit, and then I get it after you, and I can't find shit. I'm inconclusive because you kept some shit. That should not be how it go. Should not be. Should be unusual. It should be unusual. You can't remove shit from a crime scene. How would you make it okay in the norm to contaminate a body that I'm trying to run an autopsy on to determine cause of death? That's wild. That's wild to me. If I'm not trying to cover nothing up, I leave it as I got it. Somebody gets shot, something happened on the scene, nobody move, nobody go in and out, don't touch nothing, don't move nothing. That's how that's done. CSI, we know what it is. We know how that go. Don't touch nothing. Don't let me be lead detective or something. Hey, look, you, and you, get out. Once you touch nothing, I'm all eyes. I don't know who. I don't know who with it. I don't know who with it, who ain't with it, who down, who getting paid off. Get out. Everybody out. All these people right here. Don't move. Nobody move. I want to see I want to remember where everybody was at. Click, 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 click. All right, everybody out. Put them in there in the other room. This guy was sitting over there. He was sitting with her. They was on this side. This dude was with this dude. They was together. They was kicking it. What else? It's powder over here. Gunshot over here. Don't nobody touch nothing. How does this work? It's not effective. That's crazy to me. Anyway. So basically, this is where we at with it now. Right now, we're in a space where 2 people have done an autopsy. One autopsy is inconclusive. The first autopsy is like, no sign of foul play. Second autopsy says we're inconclusive, but they kept some shit. This is where the issue lies. This isn't about if it's a hate crime or not. This is about a cover up. You can't get mad at black people for suspecting police cover up. We're used to it. This is normal for us. Y'all just trying to be victims. No, we try not to be victims. We want to hold somebody accountable if something happened here. There would not be a great effort to protect 5 black dudes if a white boy came up missing. I don't think that's unreasonable by reasonable standards. To all the Brandon Tatums of the world, it's not unreasonable. The investigation continues, I'm sure. It's not unreasonable. It's totally reasonable. Black people reserve the right to be cynical of law enforcement investigations just due to what this is, the makeup of what this is. And that every step and fetch it tap dancing dude on the internet that has an issue with black people having an issue. You don't know enough about this to be standing where you're standing. Let's first find out if it's ridiculous to look at this sideways before you say so. Oh, Shani says, Shani, what's good, Shani? Shani says, don't forget that one of them have a stepmother who is a DA in their town. I'm hearing that somebody got a judge in their family. These kids got powerful relatives in that area. Powerful. The Ahmaud Arbery case, when it happened, they were going to bury that. They was going to bury that because of the father's law enforcement background. They was going to bury that. Once these things go national, everybody gets shook. Everybody gets shook. Everybody gets scared. Uh-oh. Got Al Sharpton, Crump. What's this with Nancy Grace? Once you get that much attention, you got to lawyer up. You got to do it. I'm just curious. It's just the questions that I have is, this your man, right? It's your man. None of what I'm looking at informs me. I don't know how long he know these kids for. I don't know if he know these kids' parents, if they just schoolmates. I don't know how he know these people. All I know is that they wasn't moving like they was his people. Whether they responsible for this or not. Whether they responsible for this or not, they not moving like they was. He was cool enough to get on the boat. Okay. They left an hour and a half after he was missing. I don't know. Am I tripping? I can see if y'all been 5 places and every time y'all go somewhere, this dude turn up missing. Like Doug and The Hangover. Like, oh, Doug missing again. Yeah, every time we go somewhere, Doug come up missing. We gotta look for Doug again. We gotta go to the hoods of Bangkok and all that to find Doug. I gotta get a tattoo on my face and a missing tooth to find Doug. This time I'm not doing it. This is Black Doug. Remember Black Doug from The Hangover? Black Doug, Mike Epps, Black Doug. They were like, we don't give a fuck about Black Doug, right? We don't give a fuck about Black Doug. That ain't our Doug. Where's our Doug, right? Do you think if Nolan Wells was a white boy, they would have been like, oh my God, you gotta find this motherfucker. We can't leave. We can't leave, man. We can't leave. Nolan, man. Look, dude, I don't know what you're gonna do, man. I'm staying until we find Nolan. Dude, man, come on, dude. Every time you go out, man, fucking Nolan, man, he's missing. Every fucking time you go out, man, Nolan always does this fucking shit, man. It's the 8th fucking time. Everybody fucking accounted for it except fucking Nolan. Every fucking time, man. Stop bringing him to shit, man. One of them dudes will be like, fuck you, man. I'm looking for Nolan. You guys can do whatever you want. I'm looking for Nolan, man. You're not leaving without him. If Nolan was a white dude. Like I said, man, fucking Alfalfa and Spanky would have looked for buckwheat. They would look for buckwheat. You know, this is our gang, man. We ain't shit without buckwheat. Gotta find buckwheat. You ain't gonna look for buckwheat, nigga. For buckwheat? Stymie? I don't know. For buckwheat, we gotta find buckwheat, man. Can't leave this motherfucker without buckwheat. At any rate, man, inconclusive shit. And the autopsy may have been compromised by the state examiner. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case, man. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case. If there's any attempt at a cover up here, it wouldn't shock me at all. And again, I can't call it, but I don't know. Everybody's talking about this is regular. But at any rate, man, hey, look. Maybe I cover this again, maybe I don't, man. But I just wanted to touch on this because this is weird. And not only am I bothered, not necessarily, well, of course, by what happened. Of course, by what happened. Again, I don't know if this is a hate crime. I can't call that. But what bothers me more than anything else is the fact that not only the cover up, but the response to this by some well-knowns on the internet. But at any rate, yo, man, this is peculiar, man. They haven't figured out or concluded whether this was foul play, but it's inconclusive. The same thing they said about, what's old girl name? Meg's old girl that was in the shooting or whatever. You know what? I don't even think they took her prints. I don't even think they took her prints. The girl that was involved in the Tory Lanez situation, Kelsey. I don't even think they took her prints. But at any rate, at this point in time, inconclusive. They can't conclude that this wasn't foul play. By now, these kids should be getting questioned, dragged in, whatever the case may be. At any rate, man. He said Ghostbusters wouldn't have left Winston. Nope, not at all. Not at all. But hey, look, appreciate y'all jumping in here, man. This is about it for this topic. Until next time, yo. And hopefully I'm gonna jump on one of these streaming platforms and get some intro and all that popping in here. But that's it. That's all. I'm out of here. It's blazing hot in Vegas. 110 degrees. Peace out.